On our planet, there seems to be an infinite number of beautiful places one can visit, with an equal number of spectacular things to admire. It requires nothing more than a curiosity to observe what is all around you. The miracle of nature manifests in countless ways, from breathtaking vistas to the simple movements of a common heifer. The purpose of this program is to present you with the extraordinary diversity of our miraculous blue planet so that you can discover these things for yourself. In search of more miracles of nature today, we shall venture into the Mexican seaside state of Veracruz in the southwest of the country. We will admire the unbelievable colors of locally grown orchids, find out how vanilla is grown, and discover how brown sugar is made. To top things off, we will witness one extraordinary ritual. Later, we will visit the Cayman Islands in the Caribbean. The 3 islands are relatively small with regard to surface area, but are inhabited by some remarkable animals such as sea turtles, friendly rays, and other types of fish, as well as the fascinating blue iguana. The flora of Veracruz is possibly the most diverse in the whole of Mexico. Veracruz became known the world over, particularly due to its orchids. The forest-covered landscape of the Sierra Madre Oriental foothills makes an ideal habitat for wild orchids. Here, they have over 400 kinds of orchids. These orchids are cultivated here, and this is one of the few job opportunities for the people of Veracruz. Orchids of all shapes, sizes, and colors can be found in giant greenhouses as well as on outdoor flower beds. The tropical kinds of these flowers need heat and high humidity. Many of the orchids are exported on a large scale to the rest of the world. Claudio, a young botanist, inherited a love for the job from his parents, who began cultivating orchids some 40 years ago. According to him, the ideal microclimate for orchids is 10 meters above the ground because this is where the trees create a natural shade. There are excellent conditions for orchids in Claudio's garden, and the flowers thrive here. An old local legend recounts the death of 2 lovers. Soon, a strange bush grew in the place where the lovers died. One morning, a stunning flower bloomed on the bush and saturated the area with a mesmerizing aroma. It was vanilla, an orchid, which produces beautiful flowers as well as fragrant pods. The people of the Totonac Indian tribe, which initially inhabited today's Veracruz, were known to add these pods to their favorite drink made from cocoa beans. Mexico was the exclusive producer of vanilla until the first half of the 20th century. People were unable to artificially pollinate vanilla, unlike a single kind of local bee and several kinds of hummingbirds. Today, vanilla is also grown artificially in glass containers. The flower must be first cut open to disturb the partition between the stamen with the pollens and the stigma. It is then pressed together, resulting in self-pollination. Once harvested in November, The vanilla pods are alternately dried in the sunshine and in the shade so as to preserve their typical aroma. The ancient Mexican civilizations knew the aromatherapeutic properties of vanilla and used it commonly in medicine. The fragrant capsules are still being made into all kinds of figures and shapes. Vanilla is most commonly used in the kitchen, though. It's usually added to salads, soups, and even drinks. One of the traditional local dishes is trout with vanilla sauce.
Quiero arroz, doña.
The majority of local inhabitants are Catholic, but the Catholic faith is often combined with traditional Mexican myths. For thousands of years, the northernmost part of Veracruz has been inhabited by the Huastec tribe. In the Huastec language, the name Chicontepec, which is the name of a local town, means 7 hillocks. The town lies at the foot of one of them. Traditional medicine is a lot more accessible as well as more trustworthy than Western medicine for many of the locals. Many natives are still more likely to seek the assistance of a shaman rather than an accredited doctor. A shaman always commences a detoxification by requesting God grant him permission to cure the patient, offering him sacrificial gifts in return. Only then may he initiate the healing process.
Primero Dios, con las gatos, pensé mi la sorte, pensé con la sorte, pensé bastante, cuando me quedé mi vista, mi tosote, mi trance, pero más que pasarle, pero más me cuelgue, no te quisqué.
A peculiar altar indicates the blending of elements of Christianity with local traditions. The patient shows gratitude by lighting a candle. The Huastec people also cling to other traditions passed on from their ancestors. Agricultural production is one of them. The marketplace on the square in Chicontepec offers a wide variety of crops that are grown on the surrounding fields. Sugarcane, also known as panela, is one of the commodities often sold at the market. It's one of the most important crops in Veracruz, ever since Christopher Columbus first brought it to America. A long process precedes its sale at the local market. The tall sugarcane stems are harvested by hand, and then they are tied into large bundles and brought to the mill. Although it may not seem so at first glance, the mill in Chicontepec is considered to be a modern one. In many parts of Veracruz, the mills are still driven by animals, either mules or donkeys. The process is pretty simple. The stems are crushed in such a way to release as much sweet juice as possible. Bagasse, the pressed leftovers, are not wasted. They are used to feed the fire beneath the cauldron with the acquired juice. First, the juice is cooked for several hours, and then the same time is allowed to let the liquid sugar set. The finished sweet cones are wrapped in sugarcane leaves and taken to the market. While the men work at the sugar refinery, the women are busy embroidering traditional folk costumes. The men often pass the time playing music on various instruments. The traditional local music is known as haranas. The town of Papantla, which stands for the place of thundery birds, is the site of a certain ancient ritual, the so-called Dance of the Birds, or voladores. The strange statue above the town symbolizes tradition also. This unique ritual is taught to children from the age of 6. Cruz Ramirez currently explains the principles of the ritual to the children. According to him, the trick is not in acrobatic abilities, but in spiritual balance. A lengthy training is required. The pupils are taught to tie themselves firmly and then get used to hanging head down. To start with, they are not very high. When they are no longer afraid, something that is verified by checking the pulse, they are allowed to climb up. Many different cultures carried out similar rituals all over Central America, but it survived unchanged only in Papantla. The natives of Papantla, the Totonac Indians, perform this ritual flight only once every year before the sowing season. Today, it is performed all year round. Every ritual begins and ends in a shrine by the altar of the goddess of the earth. Voladores first asks for her protection and then expresses thanks. Today, Voladores is performed on higher masts than in the past to further impress the spectators. The original mast was 18 meters high, and each participant managed to circle it 13 times in one jump. The total tallied up to 52 rounds. The numbers most probably corresponded to the Maya calendar, where the number 13 played a significant role and where the sacred cycle comprised 52 years. The role of the musician is very important. He plays for the sun the entire time. He climbs up last, and once there, he turns in all the cardinal directions and addresses the sun, the earth, the moon, and the rain, asking for favorable conditions. The climax of the ritual is the flight itself. The men, tied by a rope around their waist, with arms spread for wings, descend to the ground and plead that abundant warmth and water finds its way to their fields. Let us bid these men who imitate the flight of birds and the entire state of Veracruz farewell. In the Caribbean Sea, northwest of Jamaica, lie a trio of islands known the world over as a tax haven. Welcome to the Cayman Islands. Its nature is equally noteworthy, especially due to several kinds of fascinating animals. Las Tortugas, Turtle Islands. This was the original name of the Cayman Islands. The coastline is inhabited by immense schools of sea turtles. Today, there are a lot less turtles here. They are being hunted despite the prohibition, but mostly their natural habitat is being destroyed. The turtles reproduce by laying eggs on the beaches, where one hotel next to the other springs up. As a result, there is often no room left for the turtles, which take decades to reach reproductive age. Fortunately, turtle farms like this one are being set up. These people are determined to protect the turtles so they may not become extinct in the 21st century. The different tanks swarm with turtles of all sizes, ranging from giant ones weighing up to 600 kilos to the tiniest babies. The local keeper says that turtles do not swim, but fly in the water. The movement of their fins indeed resembles the movement of birds' wings. These turtles manage to move pretty fast. The Cayman Islands are a sunny paradise throughout most of the year, but come fall, the hurricane season sets in. Most hurricanes just miss the Cayman Islands, but the side effects of them passing so close are strong winds and heavy rainfall. Just a short distance from the shore, we encounter another unusual creature. These strictly protected rays appear a little like a rubber rhombus. The ones seen here have become fond of humans. For a treat, they are willing to be petted or even attach themselves to humans just like a nozzle of a vacuum cleaner. They feed on plankton and so are harmless and have no teeth. It is said that swimming with rays is therapeutic. The rays actually appear tender and cuddly. The story that they are capable of embracing a human with their wings and killing them is only make-believe. They do have a thorn equipped with mild poison in their tails, but they only use that in extreme situations for self-defense. The rays and many other marine animals make the Cayman Islands a diving paradise. Fall is not the best time though, due to the waves churning up sand that reduce visibility. Despite the unfavorable weather conditions, there are plenty of fish with all shapes and colors. These underwater gardens are surprisingly fragile. The gradual warming of the seas, the increasingly more violent storms, and the pollution brought in by currents from North America are having devastating effects. The fish population is also being depleted by the stunning yet poisonous lionfish, which has no natural enemy in local waters. It most likely got here during a hurricane or someone's aquarium. Only about 15 people live on the tiny island of Brac. There is no industry whatsoever, and therefore no pollution. As a result, nature has maintained its unique character. Brack means cliff in Old Gaelic. Cliffs line the entire island, rising 43 meters high. These cliffs were made famous on the silver screen by Steve McQueen when he threw himself off this cliff into the raging ocean in one of the scenes from the movie Papillon. The limestone massif protects beautiful saltwater lakes. The ever-present mangroves are capable of processing seawater. These mangroves are crucial for the island because the roots hold the island together and protect it from the assault of frequent storms. As a result, an incredibly diverse ecosystem survives here, making it probably the island's greatest treasure. Rebecca's Cave is a national monument. In 1932, there was a particularly terrible storm, forcing one family to seek refuge here in this cave. Their little daughter, Rebecca, was hurt during the storm and sadly died in the cave. The legend has it that her soul begged for mercy up in heaven, and so the rest of the family was spared. It is not the only cave on the island. Brack is literally drilled through and through, making it a perfect habitat for all kinds of insects and rare bats. A reservation where large birds live, the red-footed boobies, takes up most of this island. Their biggest colony in the southern hemisphere is right here, a colony that is unique even on a global scale. Alongside the boobies, the endangered frigates, as well as many kinds of rare herons, also nest here. Why the islands are called the Cayman Islands remains a bit of a mystery. There are no crocodiles here. An error made by Sir Francis Drake is probably the reason. He considered these strange lizards to be a type of crocodile. The lizard in question is the endangered blue iguana, only found on the Cayman Islands. Prior to colonization, the iguana was plentiful, but a few years ago, only 15 were left. Early in the morning, when it's cool and overcast, the iguanas are very dark, but they change color with increasing warmth. When they are warm or excited, they are a very beautiful blue color, especially the males when reproducing. We wish the iguanas and all the endangered species a long and peaceful existence on the Cayman Islands. Our journey to the miraculous nooks of our planet comes to an end for now. On the next exploration of our compelling and bountiful planet Earth, we shall uncover the mystery of the wealthy Austrian region of Salzburg, the pristine natural beauty of Portugal that is yet unaffected by mass tourism, and wrap it all up on the extraordinary island of Corsica, where on a small surface area we shall discover both a wild coast and snow-capped mountain peaks. That's all right here on Miracles of Nature. We hope you'll join us. On our planet, there seems to be an infinite number of beautiful places one can visit, with an equal number of spectacular things to admire. It requires nothing more than a curiosity to observe what is all around you. The miracle of nature manifests in countless ways, from breathtaking vistas to the simple movements of a common heifer. The purpose of this program is to present you with the extraordinary diversity of our miraculous blue planet so that you can discover these things for yourself. Today, we will visit 3 remarkable nooks of Europe in search of miracles of nature. To begin with, we will venture into Austria's Salzburg region, an area that's famous for its Alps and towering mountains, but also because it's the birthplace of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. After that, we will move over to the southwestern outpost of the old continent, to Portugal's Algarve region. To conclude, we will admire Corsica, the French island of beauty. Salzburg is a region saturated with salt, so to speak. It is an area filled with many myths and tales. A gate to other worlds, where fairies dance in the deep forests and dwarves mine for treasure beneath the mountains. It is said that ghosts live by the Krimler waterfalls on the Krimler Ach in the High Tower National Park. The Krimler waterfall is the highest waterfall in Austria, hurtling down into a 400-meter deep abyss. In wintertime, when the surrounding mountains transform into an ice kingdom, some 500 cubic meters of water flow through the waterfall every hour. In the summertime, this number multiplies by 40. A road follows the Krimler waterfall south to Italy and to west to the Tyrol region. Legend has it that when passing here, one should toss a coin into the water for good luck. Andreas Kammerlander, a very distinctive woodcarver who specializes in carvings of forest spirits, lives in the village of Wald im Pinzgau, not far from the waterfalls. Occasionally, he also works on smaller pieces. The soft timber of the pine growing at an altitude of 1,700 meters has a lovely scent. Apparently, it also has healing properties because it slows the heart rate. Andreas also has another passion: mining. Copper, precious stones, salt, and other minerals have been quarried in the area from the time of the Celts. Andreas, together with a few buddies, bought the rights to mine an old shaft. There are fluorite deposits here which come in blue, green, purple, even brown and black. A little further on, in the Habachtal Valley, they specialize in mountain crystal. There were no crystal deposits on their land, so they had it brought in by helicopter. This block is made up of a cluster of smaller crystals. The largest that was ever extracted here weighed 120 kilos. In Habachtal, there is also Europe's only emerald deposit. The largest emerald ever found here weighed 42 kilos and forms a part of the British crown jewels. The emerald mines lie at an altitude of 2,200 meters. The deep green precious stones are hand-peeled out of a belt gneiss. Mr. Steiner learned to find emeralds from his parents. The seeker must possess, above all, an excellent intuition, as well as a thorough knowledge of local nature. Mr. Steiner not only finds the emeralds, he also polishes them and designs jewelry. The dominant feature of the Nuremberg region on the Austro-German border is the duo of the Barmstein rocks. The one on the left is in Germany, and the one on the right belongs to Austria. Beneath lies a rich deposit of salt. Salt production today is no longer as profitable as it once was. Even so, it still gets busy on occasion because the salt mine in the town of Hallein has been converted into a museum. The salt is extracted using water by flooding the shaft, then pumping it out to be further processed at the surface. The mine is slowly collapsing, though. The old wooden beams need replacing to prevent visitors from ending up as the Salt Man did. He was discovered in 1732. The salt mummified him perfectly, and thus he was preserved. Perhaps he got lost or his light went out. Without light, a miner cannot work or survive. In the past, the only source of light were wooden torches, miners' lamps, or candles. The state borderline drawn in the mine indicates that order must be maintained underground as well as the surface. Here, we can see a proper salt vein. But let us now catch our train ride back into the daylight of the surface. The Untersberg mountain range in Salzburg is heavily entwined with local tales and fables. Water from the Glacier source is said to have healing properties. In the past, archbishops from Salzburg were known to have this water brought to them. In any case, the source still supplies Salzburg with drinking water. The locals claim there is a cave just above the source in which there's a gate to different places and times. One of the many legends says that in the 16th century, wedding guests passed through this cave into the church, but they never made it there. Instead, they reappeared right here out of nowhere 100 years later. The Celts, who lived in this area, were great specialists in geomancy, the interpretation of markings on the ground. They were particularly careful when choosing plots for their temples. This was an important task done according to the Earth's energy. In places where Celtic shrines once stood, today there is usually a church. The structures are therefore charged with powerful energy forces. The church in the town of St. Wolfgang near the Wolfgangsee Lake also stands on a spot abundant in energy. Salzburg is Austria's fourth largest city. It lies on the river Salzach, not far from the boundary with Germany. Salzburg became wealthy because of salt. Local archbishops who were in charge of the mining invested generously in the city's development, and thanks to it, Salzburg bloomed into unprecedented beauty. It also became world-renowned as the city of music, especially thanks to its famous native, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, who was born in this exact home on Gasse. The center is crisscrossed by droshkis that stand close to the horse fountain. The city's most famous religious building is the Salzburg Dome. The Salzburg panorama is dominated by the massive Hohensalzburg Fortress, which stands proudly above the city on top of the Monksberg. The forever snow-capped giants of the Alps and the lush green pastures on the foothills are also part of the unmistakable character of the Salzburg region. It is time, though, to head off to the end of the world, to Portugal's Algarve. The southernmost part of Portugal, the province of Algarve, has forever attracted the attention of foreigners as well as locals. As far back as 3,000 years, Phoenician merchants were lured here by great business prospects. The Phoenicians were then replaced by Carthaginians, Romans, Visigoths, and Arabs. Its position on the southeastern outpost of Europe made it a place of great strategic importance. The castle in the town of Silves is a typical example of Moorish influence, even though its foundations were laid by the Romans in the 4th century. Silves was the capital of Algarve in the times of Moorish rule. It was, above all, a symbol of resistance against the Reconquista. In other words, the religious as well as ethnic hatred of the Christian inhabitants of the Pyrenean Peninsula toward Arabs. It was rid of barbarian rule by King Don Sancho I in 1198 after a very long siege. Sancho's victory, however, was not absolute. The Catholic commanders fought the Moors over Algarve for the next 50 years. When you take a good look around in the town of Tavira, you will realize that a strong Arab imprint was left behind. The roofs are one example. It was an Arab invention that survived the Reconquista. It's a system which, through its four-sided construction and slightly bent profile, ensures better circulation and therefore cooler air. The southwestern coast of Portugal was considered the end of the world in the Middle Ages. It is understandable that seamen and explorers of the time had a great desire to discover whether there really was nothing out there. The lighthouses were meant to show them the way home. One such lighthouse stands on the Cape of St. Vincent on the southwesternmost outpost of Europe. Its light can be seen 95 kilometers away. Every 15 seconds, it emits a ray of light to one of the 3 cardinal points facing toward the sea. The waves of the Atlantic relentlessly wash over the coastal rocks, creating bizarre formations that have forever teased the imagination of the locals. The appeal of the local coastline was initially discovered in the 1960s by the Brits, who were the first to start coming here in modern history. Currently, the British also dominate the local tourism industry. The rugged coastline that once helped the Portuguese to protect their territory is ironically now the biggest draw for most of the foreigners. Algarve offers 270 kilometers of Atlantic coastline, offering countless lovely hidden coves. The wild waves that once shaped the coastline today draw surfers from all over Europe. Cão d'água português. In other words, the Portuguese water dog. It is a special fisherman's breed emerging in the 15th century. In the past, this dog was a proficient helper capable of pulling various objects from the water and it's been known to save many a fisherman's life. It's long been used in hunting, but families with the smallest of children often use this friendly, hardworking, and very intelligent dog for a companion. The eastern coast of Algarve has an entirely different character as well as an entirely different technique for acquiring seafood. The perfect time for collecting the conchilla mussels comes at low tide. Many end up on the dinner tables of local homes and restaurants, but the smallest and therefore the youngest mussels are always returned to the sea and allowed to grow to a proper size. These sandbanks are unattractive to tourists, but are ideal for the extraction of sea salt. In Algarve, salt is being extracted from June through September. There is hardly any rain during this period, and the temperatures hover around 30 degrees Celsius. The locals stick to the traditional techniques. They utilize a complex system of salt pans known as salinas, and the whole process functions as its very own ecosystem. Many protected birds nest here, for example. Of course, salt is also extracted industrially, but such salt is of a considerably lower quality. The decisive factor in the quality of salt is the time allowed for the salt to crystallize. Mr. Manuel da Bento collects the so-called fleur de sel, salt flowers. This is the highest quality of salt in the world, and it comes in the form of fresh crystals that literally blossom on the water's surface. Industrial salt is permitted to evaporate much longer, and so larger crystals form. The fleur de sel contains a lot of minerals that are beneficial to our health, such as iodine, magnesium, and potassium. Whenever the salt crystallizes longer, the ratio of minerals decreases, and what remains is not a particularly healthy sodium chloride. Another special trait of the fleur de sel is its pinkish hue. Special microorganisms containing beta-carotene are present in the water, and this accounts for that specific coloring. Algarve is not just coastal. When heading north, one soon reaches a totally different landscape characterized by rolling highlands. The Rio Guadiana forms a natural border with Spanish Andalusia in the east. It is favored as a peaceful inland port, often used by maritime ships. Anchoring in the village works out cheaper than at the marina, and here, the ships are protected from the destructive forces of the ocean. The Serra do Caldeirão and Monchique mountain ranges separate Algarve from the neighboring Alentejo. Because its peak reaches 1,000 meters above sea level, the mountain range is the main cause of the sunny seaside climate. The clouds chased from continental Europe are stopped by the jutting peaks, and so the bad weather seldom makes it to the southern coast. Looking at the mountain range, one must think that Mother Nature was not particularly fair. While the seaside port of Algarve is guaranteed good weather because of the mountain range, the mountains themselves come across as a sad wasteland. Only cork oaks and pines thrive here. The locals live off collecting the cork oak bark and pastoral farming. A herd of goats is seen here grazing on the peak of the Foia mountain, Algarve's highest point. Algarve was a prominent producer of wheat in the past. The windy climate was often utilized in the harvest process. There were mills on virtually every hill. The snow-white facade indicates that the mill is kept spick and span. A much more common sight in Algarve today is an electric energy windmill. and so the tradition of using the wind's energy remains, although it has taken on a modern appearance. Now, we are headed to the Isle of Beauty, to Corsica. These peaks are to be seen on one of the strangest of the Mediterranean islands. Corsica bestows its beauty on seaside lovers and passionate hikers alike. The island has a very emotional past. For centuries, it has been the home to proud and unconquered natives. One of them, Monsieur Pasquale de Paoli, has helped achieve Corsica's independence, which lasted 14 years. After that, France acquired the island for good. The town of Corte was the center of the resistance and later became the capital of the Free Republic of Corsica. The citadel above the town is the island's only fortress that is not built on the coast. It was built by the Genovese in the 15th century, and the locals call it Eagle's Nest. Corsica is also known as l'Île de Beauté, meaning the Isle of Beauty. Apparently, beauty can take on many forms. In Corsica, it's not just sunny beaches, but also steep peaks and streams with crystal cool water coming down from the glaciers. The highest, Monte Cinto, is 2,706 meters high, and some of its peaks remain snow-capped all year round. Despite the often harsh climate, the conditions favor farming. The cultivation of citrus fruits, olives, and wine is restricted to the lowland areas on the coast, while the higher areas are used for livestock farming. Corsica is the poorest European region belonging to France. Whenever a wealthier Frenchman darts to one of the local picturesque stone villages, he may believe that he has entered a folk museum. Judging by the visitor numbers, though, it's apparent that this charm amid virgin nature really draws tourists. The Nostrale pig is bred especially for the renowned prosciutto ham and the figatello sausage. The piglets are fed extra wheat middlings and hulled grains in their first year, and the older specimens are left to roam freely. During this time of the year, they feed almost exclusively on chestnuts and acorns. On the southern cape of the island, near the Strait of Boniface, which separates Corsica from Sardinia, are the island's only limestone cliffs, falling steeply into the sea. Here, the picturesque Bonifacio settlement was established. In the early times of Christianity, it was known as Calcosalto, which stands for Chalk Haven. It was most likely called so because nature has created a safe natural harbor here. Because the island is lined with steep cliffs, this land was almost undefeatable from the sea. The island's rulers have built massive fortresses in the few places where safe landing was possible. Citadels dominate the towns of Ajaccio, Bonifacio, and Bastia. Today, the coast is guarded only by flags boasting a Moor's head, the symbol of Corsica. All approaching tourists are aware that they are about to disembark on the Isle of Beauty, because no matter which direction one arrives from, the welcoming spectacle is always breathtaking. The hidden beaches attract hordes of tourists in the summertime, because no one can resist the harsh charm of the Isle of Beauty. Our journey to the miraculous nooks of our planet comes to an end for now. On the next exploration of our compelling and bountiful planet Earth, we will visit two islands, Mauritius and the Seychelles. On Mauritius, we will find out that although many rare animals are long extinct, there is still plenty to explore. The Seychelles are the home to giant tortoises and uncommon plants. Possibly the scarcest animal species in the world, though, live in southern Kivu. The mountain gorillas are a very rare and extremely endangered species. That's all right here on Miracles of Nature. We hope you'll join us.